Hey you, and welcome. In this video, we will learn about Firestore compound queries. So let's dive right into it. I'm looking at the documentation by Firestore for queries. I'm in the read data section, perform simple and compound queries. That's the section I'm on. And if I click on execute query, that's where we can see the queries that we have to run. In this case, we have to wrap our reference that we have created into a function called query, which is given to us by Firebase Firestore, along with many other functions that we can work with, like where. There's also order by, I believe. There's start at. There's many of these. So we'll work with a few of them. In order to work with that, we will create a new feature of our contact app. So let's go to VS Code. Let's start working on that feature first. So in this VS Code, I have my contact app open on the right-hand side. If I go over to the drawer, I can see that there's a bunch of contacts. What I want to do is allow a person to type a contact name, even a portion of it, and search that user. So first things first, let's create our input above the contact, right under the new button. I'll create a new input, which will take in text. And with a button, when you click that button, it will search for the users at that point. So I'll go to my Firefox and search for Chakra UI input. And in the input documentation, I believe there was one called for password, and they had a button on the right-hand side called show. So I can just use this input as is. So I'll copy paste this code, input group, go back to my VS Code, and go to root.tsx. That's where the sidebar is. And if I search, do I need to search? Yeah, no, I'm right here. So under the flex where I have the new button and the close button, that's where I will paste this code. And let's do imports. So input group comes from Chakra UI React, input as well, input right element, further down. I think we're good. There's no more Boolean of show. So the input type will always say a text. Let's change this to contact name, ... Enter password, no, contact name, ... Actually, type is not that, sorry. All right, so next thing would be on click. We will change this on click to handle search. Ooh, let's do it better. Handle search. And when we do handle search, let's create handle search above return, const handle search. Let's make it an empty function for now. We'll come back to this. That error should go away. Next is the button name. So let's call it search button and save it. Great. So on the right side on my contact app, I now have a search option. If I type something in it, let's say sum, and click on search, it doesn't really do anything. Of course, we haven't implemented it. So let's work on the implementation for this button. So first things first, let's make sure that this input value is stored in the state. So when I click the button, I'm able to pass that along. In order to do that, I will start a new state variable in my sidebar content. So we'll call useState from React. Get the tuple out. By default, it will be an empty string. Search, set search, lowercase set, search, like so. And then call set search when the input on change event happens. It will give us a E, and E is for event. And then we can do e.target.value. That's how we can get the value of the input type. Set search. We haven't really had to get the e.target.value is because we work with React hook form. That's good for long forms or larger forms, anything more than one or two inputs. In this case, we only have one input, so I am controlling it myself. I don't need React hook form for this scenario. So on change will happen, and then for value, I'll pass it the search. I don't really have to provide value, but it's a good habit. I feel like if you're gonna make a input controlled, which we're doing right now, is going to be completely controlled by the state. If you're going to do that, then pass a value. Otherwise, if you don't pass a value, the input will still work and on change will still work. It's just that there is a slight chance that your value in the state is different from the value that the user inputted. Maybe they type too fast. I haven't really seen that happen, but I don't want to take that chance. So I'll go ahead and save. Now we have our search value in the state. So that means when I do the handle search, when the on-click event happens for the search button, I have access to the search variable. So we need to do something with that. Before I do that, I do have to implement a search functionality on contact context. So let's go to contact context.tsx, and here up top where the documentation is, the interface, I will provide a set search function which will return a void, but it will expect you to pass it a search string. Default value for this set search would be a empty function like so, comma, and then scroll down. I will state that in my use state. I'm creating the same use state as I created in the component, and the reason for that, let me just type this up here, set search, and this will be an empty string. So the reason for that is because one search state, which is in the root.tsx, this one here, this one is keeping track of every button press by the user. However, the search is not happening every button press. Search is happening when the click happens. So button press state is right here in the component, and when the click happens, I pass all of that buttons that were pressed in one shot to contact context, and then contact context search only holds the search that happened, not every button press. So I'm throttling the request, so I don't want to make too many requests to Firestore. That's the reason why I'm doing it like this. That's why there's two states. All right, so set search can be passed down as is to values. There we are, and save. So that means now in the root.tsx, I can just destructure set search. And actually it doesn't like the name because there are two set searches now. So let's just rename it. I can do colon and rename it to set contact search. I deleted everything. Set contact search. There we are. And now in the handle search, I can call set contact search and pass it the search variable that I'm keeping track of in my state. Save that. All right, so far so good. That means at this point, when the button press happens, my contact search state variable should have access to the word that I wrote or the characters that I wrote. So now I can use this to filter my query. And in order to do so, remember our documentation from Firestore told us that we can destructure a query function along with where function. So that's what I'm going to be using here. I will go down to where we call our handle fetch, and inside handle fetch we have the context collection reference. Let's take that and let's create a query out of that. So I'll call that contact query like so. Query function. This will come from Firestore. It will take the reference and I will pass it the where function, which is also coming from Firestore. So I'll start writing the where condition. For that, it takes 3 parameters. First one is the field path, which in this case would be the name of the document, name of a contact. Second param would be what type of operator do you want to work with, equals, equals, greater than equals. So these are logical operators. For string, greater than equals would be just fine. And then I pass it the search parameter that I'm working with. So let's try it out. I will search Julia, search. Oh, it's not working. Reason for that is because handle fetch doesn't really happen every time the search input changes. We have to make that happen. So let's go down here where the use effect is and pass search as a dependency and save that. And let's try that out. And if I type in Julia, it doesn't work still. And the reason for that is because we're doing a string search. Greater than equals to is not really going to work for us unless we provided another where condition like this and search for name, do a less than equals to this time. So that means greater than equals to or less than equals to. We're doing a contains search and do a search plus UF8FF. This is from documentation where if you want to do a contains search on the string, you have to provide for the less than equals to side, you have to put that at the end. So I'll go ahead and save. Let's try it out now. If I try just JU, I should get 2 contacts. There we go, I'm getting them. And if I type in new, I'm in the new contact. If I just type in N, I just get the new contact. If I take it away, search, it all works. Great, with that working, I'll see you all in the next video.